Man, and the award for the biggest, most ridiculously large PlayStation mug goes to this one. Hi there guys, it's Aaron here from Push Square, and today I want to talk to you about a little game you may have heard of called KartRider Drift. So what exactly is KartRider Drift? Well, if you were paying close attention just a couple months ago to the PlayStation State of Play we received in October, you would have noticed a game that showed some particularly familiar shades of, say, Mario Kart, Mod Nation Racers, even something as specific as Little Big Planet karting. Well, KartRider Drift sped its way onto the scene as part of that showcase, and then swiftly announcing that soon later on in December, players would be able to have access to a closed beta should they be of interest to kind of check out all of the karting joys it hopes to provide. Well, it's now December, and on the day you're watching this, it's the final day of the KartRider Drift closed beta. I've been playing it and deeply checking it out, and I've got some thoughts as to the future of KartRider Drift and what it may hold in store for PlayStation fans who kind of want something akin to the Mario Kart experience, but perhaps aren't finding it elsewhere. The first thing to mention is that KartRider Drift isn't actually being developed by PlayStation. It's not an exclusive kart riding game. It's actually appearing on other platforms such as Xbox and PC as well, but seeing as that PlayStation and Sony have closely aligned themselves with the game as part of that October State of Play, I think it still warrants talking about. Another thing to mention is that KartRider Drift is entirely free to play, and that does play an important factor in terms of assessing the quality and overall lifespan and potential future that it has in store for itself. Right now, you're only able to play KartRider Drift on PlayStation 4, there is no PlayStation 5 version, but having said that, the art style is so cutesy and so poppy, I really think it doesn't matter what this game looks like from a graphical standpoint. Is the game fun? Does it provide a fun kart riding and kart riding drift experience specifically? That is what I'm here to talk to you about today. So how does KartRider Drift play? Well, at least in the beta, it plays, I would say, extremely solidly. There's only a handful of different kart types to try at the moment as part of this closed beta, but what is there, I would say, feel good and look good, and all importantly, seemingly encourage you to get better at them. Much like Mario Kart, a lot of your time is spent collecting power-ups in the main item mode, using them against enemies and trying to stay ahead of the pack whilst trying to dodge all these different various obstacles and challenges. Using the DualSense controller, holding R2 obviously to accelerate and speed up becomes second nature, but interestingly, the drift button itself is assigned to the X button on the face of your controller, and this kinda took some getting used to when elsewhere I'm used to using it on the trigger buttons. Drift well enough and you'll obviously build up enough nitros or boost to kind of speed past your enemies, which I would say right now feels satisfying enough. However, if there is one issue with the core act of racing KartRider Drift doesn't seem to overcome at the moment, it is the fact that a lot of the courses and tracks are over all too quickly and they don't really have enough shortcuts to kind of keep you interested. It's very much a case of here's a circuit, however long or short it may be, with a couple of jumps and boosts thrown in, but there isn't really much reason or excuse even to kind of veer off track and kind of get the jump on your enemies in something like a Mario Kart franchise is expertly good at. Having said that though, Nexon have been extremely clear that KartRider Drift is a platform intended to be built upon in the future, and you can almost kind of see that already here in the beta as well, especially in the types of unlocks you can get, ranging from different kart types, characters, emojis. There is just a lot of things to unlock here. Usually I'd be skeptical about things like that, but at the moment there's no in-game currency to buy into from what I can see so far, and it really is just a premium battle pass type system that you can choose to take hold of and kind of welcome into your kart riding career should you choose so. For everybody else though, it's an entirely free to play kart riding game that I would say just about holds its own to some of the more midweights of the genre. I'm thinking something like Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed or quite possibly even Crash Team Racing. If there's one thing that KartRider Drift does have going for it, it is a boatload of personality. And I kind of learned and appreciated this early on whilst playing the beta because you have to realise that, they haven't got an established license or brand that they're building upon, and that this is something entirely new, it's original IP. And that has encouraged Nexon to create some particularly creative kart riding and character designs that help encourage and inspire you to keep playing to unlock for more better gear. In addition to the simple act of racing, after you've leveled up just a couple of levels, you'll have access to what's known as a challenge mode, and this is kind of more single player driven and is an easy way to get yourself some cool skins and boost types without having to, blow past every online player out there. One of the most fun I had was simply the act of throwing like water balloons and trying to catch as many different coloured AI kart riders as possible. It sounds pretty insane, but I promise you, it's just a simple way to pass the time when you don't want to kind of have your hands get all sweaty when trying to speed and turn and drift around all the different racers online. This is a cross-play title, but obviously it being a racing game, I can't imagine that there should be too much competition amongst platforms in terms of somebody who's got an edge compared to a genre like a first-person shooter. In the short time that I played with the closed beta, I definitely came across racers both decent on PC as well as other platforms, as well as obviously PlayStation, and I would say I always stood a fighting chance. Speaking of fighting chances though, I think the one area where there is room for KartRider Drift to improve is in the type of power-ups. Obviously, with something like Mario Kart, it's been finely tuned in balance over almost 20 or so years to get that balance perfectly right to make you feel like you have a chance of winning despite all these various arcadey and crazy obstacles and items constantly getting in your way. KartRider Drift currently doesn't have that. There's the standard gamut of banana peels which can make your other racers slip, the simple boost nitrous of course, but then you've got other kind of unfair items and power-ups, I would say. The most particularly egregious example being this one item that just simply puts up 3 barriers in the middle of the track with the intention of giving you the ability to stop, 3 racers at once. And I would say because the races are always so neck and neck, a lot of people have the same cart right now, has a lot of something to do with it, I would imagine. Trying to avoid that particular wall and kind of slide through the gaps is proving quite tricky. Another particular power-up that is more annoying than it is useful, particularly when you're on the other end of it, is the one that simply lifts you up into the air, forcing you to tap left and right on the D-pad in order to escape. You can be, trailblazing it in first or second position when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, all the way from the back of the track, it seems, somebody can just stop you and, halt your progress in a particularly unfair way. There's no way of dodging it, at least for now. The blue shell in Mario Kart, as egregious as it is, as I mentioned, is finely tuned. Someone at the front of the pack isn't going to get it, and you can even have a low chance to dodge it with a simple enough drift. KartRider Drift doesn't seem to have a way to affectionately dodge a lot of these obstacles and power-ups, so I'm hoping with time, should Nexon want it to be considered a fair and fun experience when playing online, that they'll tweak some of the items and power-ups just a little. This is obviously a live service online platform as well, and there is no currency as yet, as mentioned, but there is a couple of challenges and daily sort of like objectives for you to complete to encourage you coming back for more, and a free battle pass system as well as a premium battle pass system. And even the free battle pass system at the moment has some cool unlocks. I unlocked this pink-haired character and she looked particularly fun, as well as, new emojis for you to show off and use whenever you race across that finish line and you end up on the podium. It all comes down to the fact that is KartRider Drift breaking absolute new ground? No, but at the moment I would say there is a strong lack of kart racers on the PlayStation platform at the moment, and as a free-to-play game that is coming soon on PS4, I think it's worth checking out because, you have things like Rocket League, albeit that's more a sports game, which has kind of grown, developed, and ultimately blossomed into its own thriving ecosystem. I think the potential is just about there for KartRider Drift, providing they can kind of hone in on the kart riding controls just a little bit, tighten up a bit of the item balancing, and kind of keep you engaged long enough through these worthwhile challenges that eventually reward you. The last thing I'll mention is that I was a bit impressed by KartRider Drift's selection of tracks at the moment. While they might be simple from a pure design and layout perspective, thematically there is a good mix there. 1 minute you're driving across a simple field type area, the next I'm in a Halloween gothic castle, picking up power-ups in the form of pumpkins before lobbing them ahead at my rivals. As I said, I think Nexon are trying to break barriers by not basing this kart riding game on a particular license, so they're having to do extra work, and already I think the foundation is set for them to engage not just family players, but kind of people like me who are in need of a decent kart riding experience on PlayStation. But anyway guys, those are just my brief and general thoughts on my experience playing the KartRider Drift beta. I'm not saying it's quite as polished or kind of shiny looking or ultimately thoughtful as something like Mario Kart. But given that it'll be free to play at launch, I would say there's a lot here to keep you engaged. Speaking of launch, there is no hard release date given at the moment, just a general 2022 release date, but hopefully we'll be able to jump into the full game soon, and it can scratch that itch we've been left since the lack of Little Big Planet karting or Mod Nation racers are unfortunately no more. That said, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the Push Square YouTube channel for everything else PlayStation related. As always guys, I want to thank you for watching, and until then, I will see you in the next one.